You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN E-mini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things E-mini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro. Joining us today, Mr. Michael Borth. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Monday, 23rd day of March, 2026. Thanks for joining us. Whoever you are, wherever you are, we're just glad to have you right here, right now. We're back to a normal week. Well, I guess you'd call it the new normal. Anyway, I took a little time off. Michael took a week off, but we're both back, and Michael will join us at the top of the hour, 1 p.m. Eastern, for a recap of everything that happened this morning in the live training room, and do a little live trading as time and the markets permit. Now, we do 2 live broadcasts every trading day. The first one is our live training room, so you do need to be a member or taking your 1-week free trial to get into that one. This one is open to the public. Everybody, everywhere on planet Earth with an internet-connected device. There's 2 different ways you can join this afternoon broadcast live. The best way, because you only got to do it once, go to mytradingiq.com, scroll down to where it says Noon Broadcast. Click the link, fill out the 30-second registration form, and you're done. What will happen going forward is every trading day, you'll get an email about an hour before this broadcast starts. In the email, there's a link, so at 12 noon Eastern, just click the link in the email, and it automatically logs you into our platform. The benefit of doing it that way is you immediately have access to the question box, so you can ask questions and participate in the discussion. Of course, there'll be days you're out of the office, away from the desktop, but you still want to join live. Some days you'll be busy, so you can't join live, but you want to get caught up later. You can do both of those via our YouTube channel, which is easy to remember. youtube.com/CFRN. That's the Christian Financial Radio Network since 2005. Now, if you're new to our neck of the woods, it's also a great way to get to know who we really are. Thanks to the power of YouTube, you can scroll back 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years, even more, a lot more. Now, obviously, you're not going to watch them all, nor do you need to. But it is a great resource to have at your fingertips if you're, again, new to our neck of the woods, because it allows you to see how we've evolved over all these years, day by day by day. youtube.com/CFRN. On the left side of the screen is our schedule for each afternoon broadcast. As I mentioned, Michael will be joining us here at the top of the hour, 1 p.m. Eastern, give or take. But we'll start where we always do, and that's with our daily devotional. Now, the topic that we've been on for a few weeks and will be on for another week, week and a half. God, where are you? The scripture today is Luke 8, verses 30 through 34. And the setting here is where Jesus casts out the legion of demons and sends them into the pigs. You're probably familiar with that story. So beginning in verse 30 of Luke 8, Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" "Legion," he replied, because many demons had gone into him. And they begged Jesus repeatedly not to order them to go into the abyss. A large herd of pigs was feeding there on the hillside. The demons begged Jesus to let them go into the pigs, and he gave them permission. When the demons came out of the man, they went into the pigs, and the herd rushed down the steep bank into the lake and were drowned. When those tending the pigs saw what had happened, they ran off and reported this in the town and countryside. Now, I don't know how many times I've preached a sermon based around this particular scripture, but I always wonder, because we're not told anywhere in the Bible. There's a guy somewhere who was a pig farmer, pig owner, whatever that's called. I mean, it was a large herd of pigs. Maybe his entire herd, we don't know. But this guy paid a hefty price. I mean, his livelihood. But I guess everybody ate good that night. I don't know. Would you eat a demon-infested pig? I tend to stay away from pork anyway, but not for religious reasons, just because. All right. So, sometimes Jesus goes to the most unexpected places to reach the most hopeless people. His journey across the Sea of Galilee to Gerasene territory provides that no one is beyond his reach. Mark 5:1 says, "They went across the lake to the region of the Gerasenes." This was foreign territory and unclean by Jewish standards, filled with pig herders and pagan practices. Yet Jesus deliberately sailed there, even calming a violent storm to reach one desperate man. The man who met Jesus was utterly broken. This man lived in the tombs, and no one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain. Mark 5:3. Possessed by a legion of demons, he was naked, violent, and isolated among the dead. Day and night he would cry out and cut himself with stones. The community had given up on him. He was beyond human help. When Jesus stepped onto the shore, the demoniac ran to him and fell down. The demons recognized Jesus immediately. "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God?" Mark 5:7. Even in foreign territory, spiritual forces acknowledged Christ's supreme authority. Jesus commanded the demons to leave, sending them into a nearby herd of pigs. The herd, about 2,000 in number, rushed down the steep bank into the lake and were drowned. Mark 5:13. That's a lot of pork. The man's deliverance was so complete that when people came to investigate, they found him sitting there, dressed and in his right mind. Mark 5:15. Instead of celebrating, the townspeople were afraid and begged Jesus to leave. They preferred their familiar chaos to his transforming presence. But the healed man had a different response. He begged to go with Jesus. Now, I know that we feel like we spend a lot of time in our lives trying to avoid chaos. But if you step back and take a look at your life, Why is it we continually create chaos in our life? That's just a little side note, something you can ponder later. Jesus gave this man an unexpected assignment. Go home to your own people and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you. Mark 5:19. The man who once terrorized the region became its first evangelist, and all the people were amazed at his testimony. Mark 5:20. Jesus crossed geographical, cultural, and spiritual boundaries to reach one lost man. In foreign territory, through a demoniac, the gospel found its first foothold beyond Jewish borders. No place is too distant, no person too damaged for God's transforming power. So what garrison territories in your life seem beyond God's reach? What situations in your life appear too hopeless for his intervention? Jesus still crosses every sea and conquers every storm to reach the unreachable. That's a powerful story. Let's pray. Lord Jesus, you have power over every force that binds and troubles us. Please speak freedom into our lives and break every chain that holds us back. Help us trust in your authority and walk in the peace and restoration you bring. It's in your name we believe and pray. And everybody said, amen. Amen and happy Monday. Yep. All right, let me give you the numbers from around the world. Then we'll go to the news, then we'll go to the charts, then Michael will show up in that order. Okay, starting here in the U.S. with the cash markets, or the indices as they're called. Currently the Dow's up 724 points, quite a difference from Friday. That's over 1.5%. The Nasdaq's up 332 points, over 1.5%. S&P 500 is up 88 points, almost 1.5%. And the Russell 2000, our man of the street, up 57 points, almost 2.5%. In the commodity baskets, crude oil down $7.50, trading 90.73 last. That's a drop of over 7.5%. Now remember last week I said that within 2 weeks I expect crude to be back in the $70 range. So we'll see. Gold down $208.60, make that $210.90. Trading 4,364 last. That's a drop of over 4.5%. Silver down $1.60, trading 68.06 last. That's a drop of about 2.25%. In the Asian markets at the close, the Nikkei fell 1,857 points, 3.5%. The Shanghai dropped 143 points, 3.5%. The Hang Seng fell 894 points, 3.5%. And in the European markets at the close, FTSE up 9. The DAX up 316. That's almost 1.5%. And the CAC up 90, almost 1.25%. So we had a red day in Asia. It was a green day for the UK. And at the moment, it's a big green radio Monday here in the US of A. And on the daily, we got a bullish engulfing candle shaping up, and I'll show you that when we get to the charts. That's on the ES daily chart. And probably on the daily charts of some of the other indices, but we always look at the S&P because it's the bellwether. Former FBI Director Robert Mueller passed on Friday at age 81. After leading the FBI from 2001 to 2013, Mueller later became known for his role as special counsel, appointed in 2017 to investigate claims of Russian interference in the U.S. 2016 presidential election. Wow, it's been 10 years. The Mueller investigation identified contacts between the Trump campaign and Russia. By 2019, they had brought charges against 6 of President Donald Trump's associates, including campaign chair Paul Manafort and Trump's first national security advisor, Michael Flynn. However, Mueller did not find sufficient evidence that the campaign had conspired with Russia. The team did not reach a conclusion on obstruction of justice charges. And online, you can see the entire 448-page report. Prior to the report, Mueller served as the FBI's second longest serving director, joining the agency days before the September 11, 2001 attacks. Under his tenure, the FBI enforced the Patriot Act and documented CIA torture in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. Turning to Wall Street. U.S. stocks surged today, shaking off overnight losses as President Trump eased fears of an escalation in the Middle East war by postponing threatened strikes on Iran's power plants. Markets became upbeat after Trump said he gave instructions to postpone military strikes on Iran's energy infrastructure, thanks to very good and productive talks between the U.S. and Tehran that will continue throughout the week. Now, Trump's no fool. He knows these people cannot be trusted. So, the comment, anyway, eased market fears, stoked by an intensifying exchange of violent rhetoric over the weekend. Trump gave Iran an ultimatum on Saturday, saying that if the Strait of Hormuz remained closed after 48 hours, he would order attacks on Iran's power facilities. Today, Tehran launched fresh attacks in the region. Oil prices dived after Trump's post, pulling back from early morning gains. We'll look at those charts here in just a few minutes. Last week, Rivian, which trades under the symbol RIVN, and Uber completed a $1.25 billion deal for up to 50,000 R2 robotaxis. The two deal makers, Rivian's CEO and Uber's CEO, have known each other for years, and it's not Elon. The Uber CEO is Dara Khosrowshahi. I give up. They've known each other for years, and the agreement was in the works for some time. Transportation, mobility, and a small world. So I've known Dara for a long time, Scaringe told Yahoo Finance in an exclusive interview. We've been talking about this deal for maybe a year, but different versions of it, and it's hard to define a deal of scale where there's so many unknowns. Some of those unknowns include metrics like vehicle revenue per mile, and therefore the revenue generated while the vehicle is being used. We're very, very bullish on what's the rate of progress that we're going to see as an industry towards level 4 self-driving. And we saw a real opportunity to do something exciting and large with Uber. Ultimately, what came together, I think, is one of the larger deals, if not the largest deal that they've done, both in terms of the investment, but also in terms of the vehicle fleet size. Part and parcel of that deal is Rivian's upcoming R2 midsize EV. One that Scaringe said fit the form factor and package Uber was looking for. Of course, Uber has other partners, including Rivian's rival Lucid, LCID. But what's different about the Rivian partnership is that there is no third tech partner or autonomous software provider. In this case, Rivian's in-house autonomy platform, which combines the company's self-driving software with custom hardware, like its Rivian design chips, will power the technology. And on that news, Uber's up over 1%, almost 1.25%, and Rivian is up 6%. That's a big deal for Rivian. Oil futures plunged Monday morning as President Trump said on social media he was holding off on the attacks against Iran's power infrastructure and that the U.S. and Iran had very good and productive conversations over the past 2 days. If only you could trust anything they said. They've been lying to us for 46 years. Trump's post boosted optimism about a potential de-escalation of the U.S.-Israel conflict with Iran, following a weekend thread in which Trump warned that Tehran had 48 hours to fully open, without threat, the Strait of Hormuz or face strikes on its power infrastructure. The standoff over the strait, a critical oil transit route that has been near a standstill since the war began, of course, as you know, has sent oil prices soaring. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Short-term pain followed by some gain down the line. That's how history has handled significant oil price shocks, according to new data pulled from JP Morgan. Going back to 1974, in periods where oil prices have spiked more than 100%, the median performance of the S&P 500 has been higher 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, and 1 year following the surge in crude. The S&P 500 has a median gain of 6% during the oil price spike period. But don't get too warm and fuzzy, JP Morgan warns. Clearly, if oil prices spike further from here, and the targeting of Gulf production capacity makes a move towards the 120 to 130 range and potentially higher, equities would have to reprice lower. Well, come on, by hook or crook, I think the oil prices are coming down. We'll see. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission's top enforcement official left abruptly last week, walked out. He had clashed with agency leaders over the direction of its enforcement program, which including the handling of cases with ties to President Trump and his family, according to 3 people familiar with the matter. SEC Enforcement Division Director Margaret Ryan resigned last Monday after just 6 months on the job. Reuters was the first to report her resignation email, seen by Reuters, did not say why she was leaving. Two of the people, said Ryan, wanted to be more aggressive in pursuing charges for fraud and other misconduct, including in cases that touched the president's circle, but faced resistance from SEC Chair Paul Atkins and other top Republican political appointees. Oh, and the left danced a jig. Now, I know I just told you it's a big green Radio Monday here in the US of A. However, technically the stock market is breaking down. And I'm going to show you that on the ES here when we get to the daily chart. The S&P 500, the Dow, and the NASDAQ Composite have all officially fallen below the important 200-day moving average as surging oil prices weigh on investor sentiment. All three major stock indexes are down in 2026. The bull market still deserves the benefit of the doubt, though our work still suggests the corrective phase may not be complete. We hit that elusive 24% fib retracement on Friday. We spiked it, but closed above it. But I'll show you all that in a minute. Turning to Capitol Hill, President Trump is demanding that any deal with Democrats to fund the Department of Homeland Security must include an agreement on requiring photo identification and proof of citizenship in federal elections. The demand merges two battles that Congress has failed to resolve. I don't think we should make any deal with the crazy, country-destroying, radical left Democrats unless and until they vote with Republicans to pass the Save America Act. Trump wrote this on Truth Social Sunday night. In other words, lump everything together as one and vote. Kill the filibuster and stay in D.C. for Easter if necessary. Now, this is what they call an 80-20 deal. 80% of the population, no matter what your political affiliation, 80% of the country thinks you should have to show ID and prove that you're an American citizen and have a right to vote, to cast a vote in a federal election. So with only 20% of Americans against it for whatever crazy reason, they still can't get this thing passed. Thune, of course, is taking heat that he's not able to get the job done. I think it's kind of unfair to put all the blame on him, but that's where it is. A Republican Oklahoma Senator Mark Wayne Mullen to be the next Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, bolstered by the surprise support of one Democrat who considers the nominee his friend. The Senate voted 54-37 during a rare Sunday session to invoke cloture on Mullen's nomination to succeed Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, teeing up a final confirmation vote expected today or tomorrow, while Democratic Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman's yes vote was expected. A second Democrat, New Mexico Senator Martin Heinrich, also bucked his party to advance Mullen's nomination in a surprise development. Well, there's the news. Let's go local. Logic 247. That's our 24/7 around-the-clock E-mini alert service. Not just E-minis, but also crude, gold, and silver. And by the way, crude has rolled forward to the K contract. All right, we're currently in week 399. Over the last 399 weeks, we've issued over 21,800 individual handcrafted alerts. And what we've averaged on a weekly basis is 20% or less of the alerts being stopped out based just simply on market structure. And the simple process we teach all of our passport holders. Since the market opened last night at 6 p.m. Eastern, we've issued a total of 24 logic alerts. Don't get those confused with the CTAs, two different animals. Now, Valerie did the recap this morning at 6:30 a.m. Eastern. So at the time she did the recap, we were still waiting on the outcome of 11. That gave us 13 actionable alerts, of which 1 or 8% would have been stopped out. Again, based simply on market structure and the simple process we teach all of our passport holders. Now, the purpose of the logic alerts is to help you learn to read the chart. Yes, of course, you can trade them because they're put out well in advance of them triggering. So you can trade them, that's fine. But if you never actually trade a logic alert, please use them for the purpose intended if you're a member. And that's to learn how to read the chart. Every logic alert has an entry price, long or short, and then an initial target designed to help you get your goal for the day. And then in most cases, additional targets, and then a final trade to target. The logic alerts can come out anytime around the clock, 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. Futures trade around the clock. We have traders around the globe. Our day session is their night session, and vice versa. Now, 399 weeks is a very long time. It's over 7.5 years. But many years before we introduced Logic 247, we had our original alert service, the concierge trade alerts. Now, last night, let me show you exactly what it did. Okay, I issued them at 5:55 p.m. Eastern, but in the discussion group, I said, hey guys, we're probably going to have some big gaps. I'm going to go ahead and put out a preliminary list of CTAs. Then we're going to let the gaps happen. And then if need be, I will reissue. And I did end up reissuing, I think 7 minutes after the market opened, 8 minutes after the market opened. The Monday session began Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern. Just like the Tuesday session will begin tonight, Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern. So what happened is on the initial, most of the market, or many of the markets, gapped right down to, on the open, the short target. So it really didn't give you a lot of time to take any action. So I went ahead and 8 minutes after the open, I redid them. So what this means is all of our traders had all of these targets 8 minutes after the market opened last night. So when we get to the 30-minute charts where all the alerts are created, you'll see these targets drawn out on the chart. Just as you see them, keep in mind, our traders had that information 8 minutes after the market opened. Okay, the S&P 500, the Dow, the Russell, crude. Now all the indices have gone to the M contract, June. Crude is now on the K contract. The NQ gold and silver. All of our members had all of this info 8 minutes after the market opened. So now we can go and actually take a look. What time did the market open last night, Jeff? 6 p.m. Eastern. The Globex session, just like today, The futures market will close at 5 p.m. Eastern. Stocks stop trading at 5 p.m. Eastern. Markets go quiet for an hour. And then tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern, the markets will reopen, and that is the beginning of the Tuesday session. Now, if you're a stock trader, you got to wait till tomorrow morning at 9:30. But for those of us who trade futures, the market opens Sunday night through Thursday night at 6 p.m. Eastern. So the Monday session begins Sunday night, and the Tuesday session begins Monday night, and the Wednesday session begins Tuesday night, etc. But great question. Thank you. Okay. So now we'll go to the charts. And we always start right here with the S&P 500 E-mini futures, the bellwether. Now, as I said, on Friday, we spiked that elusive 24% Fib retracement. On the daily chart, we've not had, and that's the shallowest possible Fibonacci retracement. That thing eluded us for over a year. Well, Friday we hit it. We spiked it, but we closed above it. Now we have a bullish engulfing candle. And what does that mean? It means that today's low is lower than Friday's low. Today's high is higher than Friday's high. And in the proper context, which this is, that is one of your key reversal signals. Okay? If you're not familiar with candlesticks, it's not the latest thing to come down the pike. Candlestick trading strategy was developed by Japanese rice traders over 400 years ago. And you'll hear terms like hammer and bullish engulfing and morning star. I wrote a PDF, and it's out there on the internet. If you Google The Secret Life of Candles, CFRN, you can find the PDF. If you have any trouble finding it, Valerie can give you a link to it. Now, my concern with this bullish engulfing candle is we've already sold off half. I'm just eyeballing this. Pretty much half. Well, here, we could do this. From the low to the high. Get up there. Go on. Yep. Might overshot. No, that's about right. The 50% Fib retracement just of today's candle is right here. So as you can see, price is almost backtracked. Now, a 50% retracement, nothing wrong with that at all. But what we need is we need for price to hold here and then hopefully close closer to the high of the session. Okay? This whole run-up was based simply on a post from Trump that he's going to hold off for the moment on blasting Iran's electrical grid. The question remains is, are institutional traders going to be willing to go home with these positions overnight in such a volatile geopolitical environment? And I don't know that they will, but we'll see. And you'll see too, if we close, now this is the 24% daily retracement, the 38, here's the 50. If we end up closing down around the 62, that takes a whole lot of oomph out of this bullish engulfing candle. You can see how with this wick here and this wick here, how we totally engulf. But context is super important. In other words, after a significant downtrend, a bullish engulfing candle is one of your most reliable signals for an actual reversal. But I'm concerned we're not going to get that. You see, I mean, yeah, traders could come in, institutional traders could come in later in the session and rally this thing back up. But if they don't, I got a feeling we may revisit the 24, Friday's low, and this was, last night's low when the market opened. Okay. Then Trump made his comment. Boom. So let me get these out of here. Now here's what's going to happen. If we don't have what I will consider a satisfactory bullish engulfing candle, probably tomorrow I'll do something that I haven't had to do in quite some time. And I noticed in one of Stephen's posts this morning in our discussion group, he posted a chart with reverse fibs. See, when you're in an uptrend, you draw your fibs from the most significant low to the significant high, which in this case is the all-time historic high of the S&P 500. We've been in an uptrend for quite a long time. But if we close weak today, then I may put on reverse fibs. Now again, in a bull market, you draw your fibs from the low to the high. That's what you see right here. But when the market, and I've been talking about this transition, see how that thing's come around? When you transition into a bearish market, then you draw your fibs from the high to the low. And it works just the same. Okay. Now, if I do reverse fibs, I will probably end up doing I'll end up doing reverse fib extensions as well. So we're already back to the zero line of the fib extensions. Okay. So now as futures traders, we don't care if the market's going up or going down, because with futures, it's simple to make money, in either direction. It can be a little trickier with stocks, but with futures, and you can trade around the clock with futures. Whereas with stocks, you're locked into that 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern. However, last year, the New York Stock Exchange said they were looking in 2026 to going to an around-the-clock market, much like futures. So we'll see what happens. So if we close much lower than where we are right now today, then tomorrow on the broadcast, when I open up this daily chart, if I'm going to do it, you know what, I'll do it with you watching so that you understand how to do it as well. Okay. Like if I were going to do it right now, we would just simply, again, in an uptrend, you go from the low to the high. But in a downtrend, you go from the high to the low. Okay. All right. Now, price always reverts to the mean. I don't care what you trade and how you trade it. Price is kind of like gravity. It just is. Or price reversion to the mean is kind of like gravity. It just is. You may not understand it. It may not make sense. But don't walk off the side of a building, right? So, in our case, the mean is this green line. Okay. We call it the BBC. It just stands for bull bear cross. When price crosses above the green line, we're bullish in anticipation of higher prices. When price crosses below the green line, we're bearish in anticipation of lower prices. Now, right here, back on February 12th, we closed below the BBC. And here's what's important. The pullback to the mean, the reversion to the mean, or the pullback to the BBC holds more often than not. Even these candles, even this day where we ran way up here, we were still touching the green line. So that means the pullback held. And we got a leg and a retracement, and we haven't touched the BBC since March 5th. That was the last day we touched. Okay. And you see how price is getting further and further away from the BBC. That's all part of this transition pattern. Okay. So we'll be watching closely to see how we close today. And that's going to give us an idea of what's to come. We do have a little bit of high impact news tomorrow. I think 2 high impact economic reports, and they come out at an odd time, 9:45. So be watching for that. Now let's get to the 30-minute chart. The 30-minute chart is where all the alerts are created. The Logic 247 alerts and the Concierge trade alerts. The vertical line you see right here, okay, that separates today, Monday. Back over here is Friday. This is where we closed on Friday. And this is where we opened last night, way down here. Yeah. From that close on Friday to last night's open, I think the technical term for that's a whopper. Yeah, it's a big one. Big boy. But the first 30-minute candle rushed up and ran into resistance at red and falling. And so we danced around red and falling until we got almost to the short target. I pegged that it's that the CTA short target that you just saw the list. Now remember, those CTAs came out 8 minutes into the life of this 30-minute candle. Okay. So here's the London Open. We just missed the short target by, I don't know, a couple points or so. Can I get a number? Yeah, we missed the short target by 1.5 points. Okay. But any of these red candles, and you would only want to be looking at shorts because you're below the BBC. As long as you're below that green line, and look how the pullback held, right? Now, whether you pull up from below or pull down from above. Now, those of you that were in the live training room this morning, I said, hey guys, it looks to me like all the indices are going to at 11:30. That's when the live training room closes. It's also when the European markets close. I said, it looks to me like we're going to get a pullback to the BBC. Now, I said that in the live training room, and the reason I said it was because the black step line was starting to cross blue and climbing. And when the step line crosses blue and climbing, that will typically lead to a retracement to the BBC. So we had a gap lower open, came within 1.5 points of the short target. And then Trump made his comments. The market went nuts, filled the gap. And now the zones that you're seeing here, okay, the horizontal lines, those are the weekly trading zones. We've published those for our members every week, every Monday for the last 16 plus years. The zones are published Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. Once they're published, they're carved in stone for the entire week. They don't change in any way whatsoever. But you're looking at last week's zones. Why? Because when I send alerts out on Sunday night, I have to base them on last week's zones because I don't publish the new zones till Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. Now that the new zones have been published, any alerts that go out for the rest of the week will be based on the new zones. And if you're new and are wondering, well, what's the zone all about? When price rallies up to a zone, we expect resistance till proven otherwise. When price drops to a zone, we expect support until proven otherwise. When price encounters a weekly trading zone, 70% of the time you're going to get this, consolidation. 20% of the time you'll get rejection. That's what that is up there. 10% of the time you'll get the slice. That's when a 30-minute candle slices through a zone like it's not even there. When that happens, price will typically retrace to the zone it sliced through and then continue in the direction of the slice. Okay? So, on tomorrow's broadcast, you'll see this week's zones because they've now been published for our members. When price trades through a CTA target, on the pullback, in this case, the top side of the long target will often become support. Under normal market conditions, you would typically see resistance, just like down here. As we got to this target, what do we find? Support, right? But Trump's news blew my zones out. Yeah, that man can move the world with a Truth Social post. Now, the step line crossed, so that's why I said in the live training room, guys, when the European markets close, look for retracement back to the BBC, and this is what I call support times 2. The pullback to the BBC holds more often than it doesn't, and when you trade through a CTA long target on a retracement, the top side of the target will often become support. And when you trade through a short target, the retracement will often become, the underside will become resistance. So right now we have bounced off the BBC and the top side of the long target all the way up to last week's zone at 6640/41. And the zone held and the zone held, as they did over here. That's the carryover power of the zones. Okay. All right. Let's go to the Dow. There's the gap lower open last night on the Dow, right there. We didn't get quite as close to the short target as we did on the ES. But here's Trump's. I guess I could stretch this out. Now, on Friday, see how the pullback to the BBC held? Pullback held, pullback held. And even the final 30-minute candle on Friday, which is right behind that vertical line, the pullback held. It sent us lower. This is where we opened last night. We had a red candle, which reversed, but then we hit resistance at red and falling. And then we got a pullback to the BBC. The pullback held, set us lower, but we didn't quite get to the short target. Then Trump comes along, runs the market up. And we've consolidated sideways, and see how the black step line also crossed blue and climbing. Blue and climbing is also turned to red and falling. Now, if we continue to consolidate sideways here, this red and falling is going to grow. It's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And while we know the pullback holds more often than it doesn't, if there's a lot of red and falling chasing price, we know eventually price is going to trade through the BBC. Holds more often than it doesn't, but eventually it trades through, okay? So, right here we got that same scenario, support times 2. And you got a zone from last week right below it. You could call it support times 3, okay? So buyers did come in based off the bellwether. But if we continue consolidating sideways, you're going to get more and more red. And that means that going into the close today, we could see price get below the BBC. We're bullish above it. We're bearish below it. On the Russell, on Friday, you can see the pullback leg retracement, the pullback held, the pullback held, the pullback held, and we rallied it. We were attempting a rally, if you could call it that, on Friday after all the carnage, and then we gapped from here. This is where we closed Friday. We capped all the way down to here. This is where we opened last night. We were red for a while, and then we went green. And where do we find resistance? Right at the weekly zone, 2456/57. We didn't get as close to the short target as we did on the ES. But right here at 7 a.m. Eastern, Trump spoke and the world shook. And again, we spiked all the way up here, but ultimately we closed back below that zone. Okay. As you can see, the step line is crossed. Price still in retracement mode. Okay. And if we get one more candle sideways here, that's going to turn red. And as I said, that will increase the likelihood that when price gets to the BBC, if it's got a lot of red and falling chasing price, that's when you should anticipate this time the pullback may not hold. Okay. NQ. Now on Friday, I did a lot of posting in the discussion group. If you have an interest, if you're a member, you can go there. Well, I put it in the trial discussion group as well, so you can access that. But on Friday, I published quite a few charts. Okay, we were looking for resistance here. And when this green candle ran up, filled the window, and it found resistance. Now, why was that an important price, important area? Notice how the step line, here the step line went from the left side to the right side of red and falling, and the pullback held. Okay. So then we dropped to a zone, and the zone held, and it held, and it held. That's what we expect. Okay. And so this resistance, see how the black step line went back to the left side of red and falling, making that an important price, important area. And it hit it just beautifully to the tick. And then I drew this short window of opportunity. That was a long window of opportunity. This was a short window of opportunity. And we watched it fill 3 times during the life of that 30-minute candle. And that's not unusual. Okay. When a window of opportunity fills, price will often run right back up, fill it again, back up, fill it again. And the same happens with long windows of opportunity. All right, so here's the gap lower open last night. And we hit the short target pretty much to the tip. I think we overshot it just a little bit. What do we got? 772.5. Okay, so I don't know, we missed it by 4.5 points, right? We overshot it by 4.5 points. And then along comes Trump, and boom. Where do we find resistance? At a zone. Where do we find support? At a zone. Where do we find resistance? At a zone. Where do we find support? At the BBC. Step line crossed. Price dropped. The pullback held. But now price is about to run into, forget the zones for a minute, this black step line, that's potential resistance. Okay? This high is potential resistance. This high right here is potential resistance. And look at how much red and falling we've got. So if this thing starts going sideways, you're going to have a lot of red and falling, which means as we go into the close, price is probably going to drop. But pay attention to this. See where the blue line crossed the green line? That's called a bullish cross, okay? When you have a bullish cross that leads to an extended move, the first time price revisits that area will almost always be good support. So 24080, you might want to write that number down, because if price starts dropping, the first time down, this is probably going to give us a very nice bounce. Second time down, maybe it's able to trade through. But the bigger this red and falling gets, the greater the likelihood the price is going to trade through. Pullback holds more often than not, like there and there and there and there. And it held here, but unless institutional traders get busy and start doing some buying, we're heading down into this area. Okay. Crude oil. All right. So Michael's here. So we shall pause. We still got to cover crude, gold, and silver. And Michael, I'll show you real quick the bullish engulfing candle. And I went into a lengthy explanation. In fact, I even did this. For everybody earlier. See how we've almost backpedaled all the way to the 50% retracement of today's candle?
I was saying that this morning, 628, something like that is around there.
Yeah, well, I got 616 or something, but
okay, I was eyeballing.
I probably didn't. Yeah, I didn't draw it perfect, probably, but it's what I was explaining is we've backpedaled. If we backpedal to the 50, and then institutional buying comes in and drives us back up, then we've definitely got a legitimate bullish engulfing candle. But if we drop lower, if we get down to the 62 or the 24% Feb retracement, then that kind of takes the oomph out of the bullish engulfing, which is one of the most reliable reversal candles in the proper context. And this is definitely in the proper context. So anyway, I just wanted you to see that on my chart.
Yeah, this morning, I think I was trying to explain it to Gordon when he had first asked that question this morning, that, it depends on the context of the candle.
Yeah.
You can engulfing candle and have no context, or have bullish, or have bearish.
Yeah. And in the room this morning, remember, I said, hey guys, when the European markets close, look for price to retrace to the BBC. All the indices, a couple of them didn't quite get there, but they got real close because that black step line had crossed blue and climbing, and that's why I was looking for that retracement, and it came to pass. So anyway, all right, you're looking good. All right, guys, enjoy, and I'll be back in about 30 minutes to complete the recap and wrap things up with our good word for the day.
All right, here we go. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Today is Monday, the 23rd day of March, 2026. Now, if you have not taken a free trial with us, go here to mytradingiq.com, click on the purple button. There's no credit card required for this trial. Just click on that purple button, and it's going to bring you to this registration page. Yes, it'll bring you to this registration page, where all that we ask for is your name, your email, and your phone number. Down at the bottom, make sure you give us a TradingView login ID. It's right down here. Give us a TradingView login ID so we get the indicators indicating for you on your desktop. That's what you want to have. Okay. Now, let's go here. All right, we had a pretty good day today, even though our very first trade after the vacation that I just had was a stop out. We still recovered pretty nicely. Now, if you're going to read the spreadsheet, you have to read all the CBTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today, as I said, is the 23rd day of March 2026. We're up 139 ticks on the NQ, 47 on the Russell, minus 17 on the YM, and plus 59 on the ES. That puts us at $1,582 on the morning session. Oops, didn't mean to do that. And today, took 16 minutes and 6 trades to get to $497 with one contract. And we had a really big trade on the ES. That's how it ended up being so much. And we were also just one tick away from having it, and then we piled on a 30 tick trade on the ES, 32 ticks actually. But we ended up with, when we got the goal for the day, we were at $4,975 with 10 contracts, or $497 with one contract. Today we took 35 trades with 4 stop outs for an 88.57% average break even or better. So on the month now we're 15,732, and we should easily be able to get over 20,000 on the month, the way things are going. And we have 5-6 days left, I think, right? It's a 31-day month. Yes, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days, 6 business days left. So we should easily get over that 20,000 this month. So we're averaging $1,430 per contract per day on the month. On the year now, we're $59,985. So we're 48 days, averaging $1,249 per contract per day. And following the 24/20 blueprint, if you were to quit trading when you get the goal for the day and add 1 contract per month, you'd be trading 3 contracts right now. You'd be up $14,212, averaging $2,274 per hour. $2,274 per hour. Okay. All right. So let's go back here. Let's go back and take a look at the trades that we took. Now, the YM was the only thing we're negative on. The Russell, we did pretty well on. Go all the way back to the beginning. That was at 1307. So we'll do this pretty quick and hopefully be able to get some trades off here. All right. The Russell, we didn't take our first trade until right here. And that one was 22 ticks. Then we followed up with a 10-tick trade to get us to 32. Then we went from 32 to 43, 43 to 48, then 48 to 53, then 53 to 62, 62 to 72, and then we stopped out. And when we stopped out there, we went down to 47. That's where we ended it with the Russell this morning. Now, looking at it right now, it's just about good to trade here. Just needs a down close where it currently is. Okay, down close from right here would be a short trade on the Russell right now. Anything else given a short trade right now? Nope, just the Russell. Just need that down close right there. And there it is. Okay, there's the down close. And we're in. All right. Short to Russell right now. And it actually just bumped my stop to +5. There it is. Okay. It just took me out. +5. Now the YM today. Okay, let's go put that in before I forget. This is today's, right? Okay, let's add a new one of those on. This is 66 and 323. Okay, and it was the Russell 5 ticks. Okay, let's do this. Copy, paste, paste. And I'll fill that in a minute. So far, this is 1, 0. Okay, and this becomes a 66. All right. We'll get back to that in a few minutes. The YM, which is the only one that really had our number today. Let's go all the way back here. Come on, YM. There we go. I guess we didn't have anything there for a little while on the YM. Then we finally did get our first trade off, and we picked up 20 ticks on the YM. And we stopped out. That put us at -5. Then we stopped out again. That put us at -30. And then we picked up 13 ticks here to get us to -17. That was it on the YM for us this morning. All the way over to here, we don't have any trades on the YM right at the moment. Okay, next is the ES. ES, let's hit control back on the ES. There are a lot of bars there during the break. All right, on the ES, that's where we started out with the stop out. We had -10 right there on the ES. started out with a -10 there, and then we went to -5 after that one, and then we had a break even, and then we had this big trade right here. That's where we got the goal for the day. We went from -5 to +27 on that trade. Then 27, we went up to 29. We had a couple of break evens, and went from 29 up to 41. Then a break even again, another break even. And this was kind of a mistake, this trade here. I went from 41 to 53, but it wasn't off a flat spot right there. That's why it was a little bit of a mistake. Went from 53 to 55, and then 55 to 59, and we had a couple more break evens in there. And that was it. That was the whole thing right there. And we don't have anything right now on the ES. Okay, a minute ago, did we have something back here? We did not have anything on the NQ. Right, so on the NQ now, we have a stop out on the NQ today. It doesn't look like we did have any stop outs on the NQ. Okay, so let's see, controlling back on that guy. And all right. This should be a blue one, not a purple one. All right, so our first trade on the NQ, we picked up 50 ticks on the very first trade. And then the next trade, we picked up 16 more. We went to 66. Then we went to 71, then 81, then 95, then 105, then 116, and then 139. And that was it on the NQ. All right, so we had all wins on the NQ today. Not too many trades, though, overall. Most of our trades are on the ES today. We do not have a trade right here on the NQ. All right. So all of that, let's see, on the ES right now, we need an up close on the ES right now. Be a long trade. Okay. So if you have not taken a free trial, go here to mytradingIQ.com, click on the purple button, no credit card required for the trial, just click on that purple button. It's going to bring you to this registration page. Just fill out the form. Okay, just fill out that form. Once you fill out that form, you'll be sent everything that you need to get into the room in the morning, right? And get your indicators indicating on your desktop. Now we can trade a little bit. What time is it? 3:13. So that's pretty good. 3:14. We have 16 minutes. Let's go put that in here. 16 minutes for trading today. All right. This is actually a trade here on the ES right here. Right there was the actual trade. I don't know if it's already gone enough to get the stop to break even. I just jumped on it and it just put my stop at break even, but I'm going to lock in one tick on that and see where it goes. It doesn't really have anything above it that it looks like it's trying to get to. Way up here it's 45, but on the downside, way down here at 24. You see that one down there at 24? When it turns down, that's where it's trying to get to. And it's turned down right now. Yes, we ended up with one tick on that little move right there. That was the ES. ES1. Okay. Let's get back in there. The Russell looks like it would give us a long trade on an up close from right where it is. All right, so 20 ticks above the bottom, it's 12.2, so it would be 14.2. Now that keeps going down. I don't want to have a long trade here on the Russell. I hope it closes down and not up, because everything else is going down. I think it's going to continue going down. But let's see what happens. Take the trades it gives us. Ouch. Let me see who's in here today. Okay. Questions. All right, we still have potential for a trade here on the Russell. We don't have a potential for a trade anywhere else right at the moment. Okay, Russell's the only one. I think I have my order on the right place. It's low on that 1.6. Okay, if this bar closes down, and I hope it does, then we're not going to have a trade. And if it goes down below below 10.2, okay, it just did. We're not going to have a trade. Just cancel that. We're not going to have a trade there. It's too far away. All right, so everything is tanking right here, and that's good. That's what we were hoping for. That's what we wanted. Now, this morning, you guys may remember this morning when I eyeballed this in here, I said during the break, this gets up to the BBC and the BBC holds, then we should get down halfway down the bar is what I said. And I eyeballed this morning, I said 628. We're at 627 right now. So that looks like it's happening. Now, we could have a rally here at the end of the day, and it could manage to close back up above the BBC, but we flipped over to a bearish pattern right now, so I don't know that that's going to happen. Watch the ES for the down close right here. That would be a short. Okay, that would be a short on the down close on ES. And there it is. Okay, here it is. And it just stopped me up. Okay. Oh, it's going to put a red one there. I'm going to typically do that in here. I'll do it anyway. Come in here, make this a -9. And the NQ right in here. That is a short over there on the NQ as well. It's going to be a short on the YM. The NQ just went to +10. Here's the NQ. It just took me out with +10. Sorry. YM's a short here too. The Russell is not. Okay. Let me write down the NQ. Let me go make sure I actually did get 10 out of that too. I'm certain that I did. Okay. Hang on. Let me move stuff around. The YM's moving right now. Here's the YM. It hasn't bumped my stop yet. I don't think. No, it has not bumped my stop yet. Okay, now it has, so 7 on that, 10 on the NQ, and nothing on the Russell. Let's go back in here. So YM, 7 on that, 1 on that, and we'll add 2 more here. All right, back in here. Let's see. That needs to go all the way down and come all the way back up. This needs to go all the way down, come all the way back up. That didn't hit the mid, it didn't get into the overbought, so there's no trade on that one right now. Okay, no trade on that right now. Okay. This is going to be changing this weekend. For all you guys who have access to that password will be changing this weekend. All right. I got rid of all our mid bands. Okay, I guess I'll put the password back in for now. Show synthetic divergence. What time do we have? 3:21. Plenty of time. Plenty of time to have more trades in here. Jeff, am I changing yours? We need to see if yours is changing as well. I haven't changed it yet, Jeff. It'll be changing this weekend. Okay. The password for the trigger. Yes. And email. It's all good. And all right, so we're looking for pullbacks up to the mid-band right here. We didn't go full cycle on the ES. We did go full cycle on everything else, but not the ES. So we need a down close on the YM. We need to close up and then have a down close on the NQ. We need to close up, hit the mid-band, and have a down close on the Russell. Okay. So we're almost there. The YM is the one that's closest right now. Just need a down close on the YM right now. Okay, and on the NQ, we also need a down close over there now. The YM is getting pretty far away from it there. It didn't pull all the way back down to the mid band. The YM didn't. The NQ did actually trigger though. And I'm pretty sure I just got in the NQ and it just gave me some profit. I'll have to go check. Yes, it did. It gave me the 10 ticks. I'll show you. We sold there and bought it back there. All right, and that was the only one that actually triggered. It's 10 more. Back in there. We have potential for another trade here on the ES right now on the down close. It's got a high here of 675, so it'd be 475. So we'd be selling on that. Guys, still 675. Okay. This did not go full cycle over here. This did not go full cycle. This did not go full cycle. So the ES we just triggered in. It's our only trade right now. It's going to go to break even after 4 ticks in profit. There's the break even. I'm locking just 1. I have a feeling it's going to pull right back. Okay, and so we did get the 1 on that. That's -8. Yeah. That's a 7. Okay, we did pull right back. All right, so nothing there, nothing there, nothing there, nothing there. And do you remember I told you the PT was coming? Yeah, she just left. Good, she really worked him out. And the first thing she does is stretch his legs. like bends him for him, bends his knees and everything for him. I was watching on the camera because I didn't go down there at all, but she bends his legs and then she gets him up and walks him back and forth across the room. I mean, it's working for him. He has confidence anyway that he can do stuff, and for better or worse, because now he tries to do it and he can't. I don't know how many times yesterday he said, "Okay, I'm gonna get up and go get a drink." He sits up and like he's gonna stand up and he can't. But last night we did actually get him up and walk him across the room to his walker, and then he got his walker and we walked him back across the room so he could sit on the couch, and it was bedtime.
Well, that sounds like progress.
Yeah, it is. It is. All right, we're gonna flip the YBR here. We just flipped it here. We flipped it here already, so everything's in the green now. We just need pullbacks. This didn't pull back to the mid band here, not quite to the mid band. Okay. It did go full cycle though, so we're pretty close to a trade on nothing. We need 2 down closes and up close here, 2 down closes and up close here, 1 down close, and then it's going to hit the mid band with an up close there. 2 down closes with an up close. Actually, it's going to flip the YBR once this bar closes. And then we'll see what happens because it's going to change everything. So the Russell's the farthest away from a trade. It's like the ES didn't go down on that down close. So that's nowhere near a trade right now either. That was too far away from the mid band. All right, well, we got back to positive anyway. It's 13:28. We have a couple of minutes left in here. We might have time for one more trade. After the one stop out that we had on the ES, we're down, but 83% of our trades are break even or better. 7 trades with 1 stop out. And right now we're sitting at plus $600 a contract. $60 with 1. It's not $600 a contract, it's $60 a contract. $600 altogether. $60 a contract. Just need one good trade here. It could happen. Almost there on the ES. Almost on the NQ. Nothing. All right, I guess that's going to be it, guys. We're going to wrap it up here. In this session, we were up 20 on the NQ, 5 on the Russell, 7 on the YM, and -8 on the ES for a plus 600 total, plus $60 a contract. In these sessions so far, we're averaging $135 per contract, and the sessions themselves are about 15.5 minutes long. So we're averaging $135, which is the goal for the day. per contract during these 15.5-minute sessions. So if you don't make it to the morning session, you should always try to come to this one. Okay, doing the same stuff here as we do in the morning. If you've not taken a free trial with us, go here to mytradingiq.com, click on the purple button. There's no credit card required for this. Click on that purple button and it will bring you to the registration page. Just fill it out. All right, that's all you need to do. And with that, we can pass it back out to fabulous Phoenix, Arizona in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Thanks, Jeff. And Dwayne is ready.
Yep, I'm ready. Dwayne, do you still have your 3 p.m. Eastern closing bell webcast? Gordon, no, I don't know that I ever did.
I was going to say, when did that happen?
Yeah, no, the afternoon broadcast has always been 12 noon Eastern to 2 p.m. Eastern. So, I guess the answer is no. Okay, recap of the morning session.
Today, it took 16 minutes and 6 trades to get to $4,975 with 10 contracts.
Great job.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Right, guys, we left off. Now, I've already covered the ES, the Dow, the Russell, the NQ, in granular detail. So if you missed any part of it, once I sign off, go to youtube.com/CFRN, and you can watch today's broadcast in its entirety. Or you can just fast forward to whatever part you might have missed. Okay, so crude oil, as you can see, now these are still last week's zones because the new zones don't come out till Monday morning. So all the alerts that I put out, both logic and CTAs on Sunday night, are always based on the previous week's zones. Now that the new zones have been published 6:15 this morning, now they won't change for the rest of the week. They're carved in stone. So on tomorrow's broadcast, you'll see this week's zones on my charts. But this is the carryover power of the zones. When crude opened last night, the low was a weekly zone, $97/97.05. And the high of the opening 30-minute candle was the zone 101.50/55. And those are the zones that were published last Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. So resistance always sends a market looking for support. Remember, the pullback holds more often than it doesn't. But eventually it'll trade through. So it held here. We ran back up to that same resistance right here. And then, opposite what we saw in all the other markets, when Trump made his post during the 7 o'clock 30-minute candle, whereas the indices all ran up, crude ran down. And where did it find support? At last week's zone. Then we did get a little bit below it. And I think I'm going to refresh. There's a gap there. Let me refresh this real quick and see if it goes away. No. I don't know what created that gap. Maybe Trump said something else. I don't know. Anyway, the black step line has crossed red and falling. So when that happens, we anticipate a retracement to the BBC. Now, if we consolidate sideways, this blue and climbing, you see how red and falling has turned to blue and climbing. The more blue and climbing you have when price gets back to the BBC, the greater the chance that price is going to trade through. Like up here, you had a fair amount of red and falling chasing price as we consolidated at the BBC, and then this is not normal market conditions. Okay, this was a Trump move. Okay. So we're well off the low of the session in crude, and we are in the K contract now. And crude's just kind of hanging out. So the two we have left, gold. Now, this is where gold closed on Friday. Okay. Last night we gapped way down here. And the CTAs didn't come out until 8 minutes after the open. I wanted to let the gaps happen. They happened. So 8 minutes into the life of this candle is when the CTAs were published. I went over all that earlier in the broadcast, but for those who came late, I'm just explaining. We traded through the short target on gold all the way down to 4,100. And then we got a pretty good recovery. This is the 7 o'clock Trump deal. And we actually got back above the short target for a bit, but then the pullback to the BBC held. Okay. The pullback held. Whether it pulls up from below or down from above, on your 30-minute and daily chart, the pullback holds more often than not. Now, price is running into potential resistance right here at red and falling. If it manages to trade through red and falling, the high of this candle right here, call it 44.55, that's potential resistance. And then right here where blue turned to red, 44, you call it 44.77 to be safe. That's potential resistance. As is this high, and this high. Then you got to look to the opening high last night, and then you're looking back into Friday for potential resistance. And the CTA long target was based off this high from Friday. I didn't anticipate this much of a sell-off in gold last night, but it is what it is, and it does what it does. And here where we traded through the BBC, now I know Trump had a lot to do with that, but you also had a fair amount of blue and climbing chasing the price. Last but not least, silver. We opened here, ran up to the BBC, the pullback held. Resistance will always in the market look for support, which it found at last week's zone, 66.49/66.50. But we bounced into resistance at red and falling. So that took us down. Okay. Now, if you go look left, you got to look way left, you'll see a logical reason why buyers came in here. But look at the staying power of the zones. These are the zones that were published a week ago, Monday morning. Resistance sent us looking for support. Look way left, you'll see what you see. Then we get a leg, we get a retracement. Blue and climbing held as good support. Then along came Trump at 7 a.m. Eastern, and we get a leg, a retracement, a leg, a retracement, a leg. And that high is not necessarily a spot I would have anticipated as potential resistance. As you can see, I pegged it up here, based off right here, where the black step line, it was on the right side of red and falling, and then right here it crossed back to the left side. That creates an important price, important area. Also, you got a little wick sticking up right there. So if price can get through red and falling, then it's possible, if we can overcome this resistance and this resistance, well, you can see where the long target is. And one last look at the daily chart. Okay, we've recovered a little ground. For those of you that were tuned in at the beginning of the broadcast, on the daily candle here, where I've drawn the fibs, yellow line, that's the 50% retracement from the low to the high. Now we were at the zero line of the fib extensions. We've managed to move up, but as you can see, we're moving into resistance. Red and falling is potential resistance. The black step line is potential resistance. If this bullish engulfing candle is going to have the effect, context is perfect, okay? But unless we can close above the black step line, and we very well may. I'm not going to forecast anything here, but I will say be patient and see how we close today. If we close below the 50% retracement of this daily candle, I suspect we're going to continue lower, okay? If we can get above this key resistance represented by red and falling in the black step line, we can close up at least, the perfect thing would be for us to close at the high of the session. That would be extremely bullish, okay? And even if price took out the high of the session so far, you got the daily BBC right overhead, and of course, that's potential resistance. Pullback holds more often than not, as proven over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 consecutive days, and then we haven't touched the daily BBC since March 5th, and it's now March 23rd. So I hope you can see I talked for the last couple weeks about what looks like a transition from a bullish market that we've been in now for arguably years into potentially a bearish scenario. And if we close weak today, then on tomorrow's broadcast, I'm going to go from regular fibs, where you draw from the low to the high, and I'm going to go to reverse fibs, where you, in this case, I would draw from the all-time historic high to the low today, or the low tomorrow. It depends. I'm not going to draw them tonight. I want to draw them while everybody's watching tomorrow, so that you understand exactly how to do it yourself. So things are looking a little more bullish than they were at the beginning of the broadcast, but we got key resistance right there. Resistance times 2. And then of course this fib. And notice that the high of the session, we found resistance at the 24% fib extension. Okay. All right. To become a member, it's really simple. Email Valerie, support@cfrn.net, and just say, hey Valerie, what does it take to become a member? And she'll send you all the information you need. And then if you have any questions, she'll be happy to answer them. You can always reach us by phone, by email, telegram. We literally work around the clock. One of the three of us is typically minding the store at pretty much all times. Okay? So to become a member, email Valerie, support@cfrn.net, and that's going to give you access to everything you see here. Okay? All right. So let's wrap it up with our good word for the day. The fourth beatitude, Matthew 5:6. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. Righteousness is not an optional spiritual supplement. It's a necessity for Christian living. It's something you must desire as much as a starving man desires food and a thirsty man desires water. Are you hungry for more of Jesus? Do you have an appetite for His Word? Do you long to experience the kingdom of God? If so, Jesus says that you will be filled. He will give you more of Himself. When you are hungry for righteousness, He will impart to you the power of a righteous life, which means keeping God's commandments and following the leading of the Holy Spirit day by day. The Lord will give you the power to say no to offers that are not right in His eyes. And He'll give you the power to say yes to those things that are of eternal benefit and to manifest His power in right decisions, right actions, and right words spoken at the right times, in the right situations, for the right results. That's a lot. The Lord will fill you with the ability to be His agent at home, at school, in your place of business, in the political arena, and in the church. When you hunger and thirst for righteousness, God will satisfy you with His presence, His power, and His peace. When you deeply and truly desire more of the Lord, you will receive more of the Lord to the point of being filled to overflowing. God keeps His promises, and He'll keep this one also. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. That's Matthew 5:6, by the way. And that's our good word for the day. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading E-mini futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.